At the start of this year, I made a video going over some things that a lot of players wish they had known sooner in Animal Crossing New Horizons. This was full of all kinds of useful tips and tricks that you shared with me to help out new players and just those who wanted to learn something new about the game. Well, since then, I've been gathering lots more of these useful things that have been shared online that players wish they had known sooner about Animal Crossing New Horizons. Whether you're new to the game, you've just started playing, or you've been playing for a few months, or even if you've been playing for years, then hopefully there'll be some things here that can help you out on your New Horizons journey. So without waiting any longer, let's jump right into this. First of all, you can use transparent patterns to prevent things from growing on the ground. This could be weeds, fossils appearing, flowers, you name it. This is such a useful thing, and the transparent patterns won't look ugly on the ground because they're transparent, you can't see them. For example, I don't like things growing behind my trees. It's really easy to lose things that happen to grow there, so I always put transparent patterns behind them. This could also really help you stop the infestation of flowers on your island, something that no one likes. I don't like digging up hundreds and hundreds of flowers, so I'm gonna put lots of these patterns down. Next, if you happen to be taking a boat ride with the famous Kapp'n, then you can actually spam the B button so he'll stop singing. Now, don't get me wrong, I love his songs, but sometimes you just want to head to an island right away and his singing really interrupts you, so spam that B button and you can get there a lot quicker. Speaking of Kapp'n Islands, you should definitely know that you won't be able to see certain types of Kapp'n Islands until you've experienced the equivalent yourself in the game. Now, if that doesn't make much sense, for example, you can visit a Kapp'n Island that will be based around fall. If you haven't yet seen fall on your current gameplay, you haven't gotten to fall yet, then you definitely need to do that before you can get that version of a Kapp'n Island. It's basically set up this way so someone who has only just started playing and is in the spring season can't suddenly start getting rarer items from later on in the year, they have to wait. Now, speaking of spamming the B button like you could with Kapp'n, you can spam the A button to speed up crafting. Crafting can be quite a slow process sometimes, and although we don't have bulk crafting in the game, which is such a shame in my opinion, it can be really useful to do this to speed things up just so you don't spend too much time in the crafting menus. If you like the coconut trees, then this is a tip for you. You can use the terraforming tool to put sand down on the ground so that you can grow coconut trees anywhere. As long as sand is underneath them, they will grow. They can't grow on regular grass, but you can put down the sand path on top of grass, and then you can grow coconut trees. This is a must-know trick for anyone who has a tropical themed island, but it can just be really useful to have coconut trees in other places and makes the scenery of your island a lot more varied, so this is a trick that I like quite a lot. Speaking of palm trees, did you know that wasps will never nest in palm trees? So if you want to get some wood, this can be a good place to start. You won't have to worry about running for your life from those terrifying wasps because they just won't come out of coconut trees. I also saw that a lot of people didn't even realize you could get wood from coconut trees, so this is another tip that you might find kinda useful. Now, this one might seem obvious to a lot of people, but it's one of the most common things I see that people wish they'd known sooner. You can actually press L to speed up dialogue rather than press B. Now, if you do want to press B, that's fine, but sometimes you might find yourself saying no to things or skipping certain dialogue that you didn't want to, whereas L won't act like the B button getting rid of menus. It will simply just act as a way of speeding up dialogue, which is really useful because, let's be honest, some of these characters do talk a little bit too much. I'm looking at you, Orville. Here's a fun little one. Did you know that you can place small types of items on top of the castle towers? Now, these have to be the types of items that only take up one single square. If they're any bigger than that, you will not be able to put them on top. But you could do all kinds of cool things like having a little gyroid act as a watch for the castle tower. So I definitely recommend doing this if you do use any of the castle items on your island. They're so cool, come on, you've got to use some of them. Depending on what type of wallpaper you have inside your house, you can actually close and open the curtains. This also applies to the blinds too. If you want a little bit more privacy because the sun is filling up your room during the day and you want some more ambient lighting, then it could be a good idea to close the curtains. Otherwise, this is more just kind of a fun little detail that not a lot of people seem to know about. When you're starting up Animal Crossing New Horizons and you're planning out your island, it can be a really good idea to put all of the buildings that you place down onto the beach. This means they won't get in the way of progress on the main island and you won't have to spend a ton of bells later on to move them all around. I highly recommend doing this, especially if you're going to flatten your island. You don't want those buildings getting in the way. More and more people have been restarting or just starting the game in general lately, so this could be really useful to know. Of course, sadly, you can't do it with things like the resident services building or the airport. I'm so sad that you can't move those about. If you are starting up, then you might need a good way to get a lot of bells without too much effort, and a really simple way of doing so is going after sea creatures. Get yourself a wetsuit, head into the ocean, and just catch tons of sea creatures. If you can fill up your pockets all the way, then you should get a ton of bells. This is a really lucrative way of doing so. And it takes a lot less time than some of the other methods do, like catching bugs or going after fish, so this could be a really good way for starters to make a lot of bells at once. When you get the hang of it though, turnips are probably the best way overall. Speaking of turnips, did you know that you can actually eat 10 turnips at once to get a bunch of energy without having to eat food one after the other? This is a really useful way of getting a lot of energy if you want to dig up trees or smash some rocks. Although I do recommend in general just cooking instead. You don't want to waste your turnips by eating them, so instead cook some food and that should give you energy pretty fast as well. Now, if you have eaten too much food, did you know that you can actually sit on the toilet to get rid of excess food that you have? This can be helpful if you don't want to smash any rocks by accident, but you still want the materials or bells from them. So yes, it's true, you literally can poop in Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is something I never really expected you'd be able to do, honestly. Did you also know that you can use Mario pipes to go inside of buildings? These won't just teleport you around the island, you could put one of them inside of a house and then it'll take you inside of a building, which can be a really great way to get there super fast. As far as I'm aware though, this only works with your own house. Sadly, it doesn't work with things like the shop. I wish it did, but of course you can't place items down in them, so generally anywhere you can't place items yourself, it won't really work. Heading over to Harvey's Island, Katrina's luck will only activate if you actually talk to her. If you didn't know, you have luck every single day, and Katrina needs to be the one to activate this. You could get good luck where you'll find yourself getting a ton of bells, or just good luck with your residents, but you could also get bad luck and start tripping up. So if you do or do not want to activate luck that day, you'll have to decide whether you want to talk to Katrina or not. Personally though, I definitely think you should start off every single day by talking to Katrina because honestly, the good luck heavily outweighs the bad luck. You might have seen that Red sets up his own store on Harvey's Island as well, and if you're sick of seeing the same paintings from him every day, that's because really you need to start buying them. When you buy a painting from him, whether it's real or fake, he will replace it with another the next day. So if you want to change out his inventory, then I recommend you do that. You may end up having to buy some fake paintings sometimes, but if you're really searching for that real art and you want to complete your museum quick, then I definitely recommend you purchase some stuff from him. Sahara is interesting because they're actually more expensive at Harvey's Island and they won't give you tickets, so it might be worth just spending more of your bells on Sahara when they come to visit your actual island. But Sahara might actually have different stock here, so that could be really useful too. If you head into resident services, then you can actually find certain exclusive items in the recycling bin. For example, this is where you can find the sloppy set of furniture, which is a really cool exclusive type of furniture for all of your favorite lazy villagers. Or just your own house too, honestly it's one of my favorite furniture sets in the entire game. Whilst you're here in resident services, have you set up an ordinance? Because there's one that you might actually not want to use. This is the Beautiful Town Ordinance, and honestly it could potentially ruin your town with flowers. The Beautiful Ordinance will make flowers grow and spread a lot quicker than they would have without it. So if this is already a problem on your island, then it could potentially make things much worse. So I would definitely be careful about having this ordinance if that is an issue that you've been struggling with. Whilst you're here, if you have Happy in Paradise, you can talk to Isabel and she'll actually reset your village's home to how it was at the very start. So if you've already made changes to yourself that you didn't like and you want to revert, or perhaps your villager had a more basic home and you wanted their normal default home, then you can simply reset it and it'll look brand new. Let me know in the comments section down below which things you wish you had known sooner in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Hopefully people can use the comment section to discover new things they didn't know before. If you made it to the end of the video, then be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below so I know you did. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on channel notifications for more.